As the first rays of the morning sun pierced through my bedroom window, I felt a surge of excitement. Today was the day my friends and I had been planning for weeks, a skiing trip to the breathtaking mountains of Aspen. I, Alex, a 28-year-old accountant with a penchant for adventure, couldn't wait to hit the slopes. I finished my packing, double-checking to ensure I had everything: my skiing gear, warm clothing, and, most importantly, my camera, to capture the scenic beauty of the mountains. With my bags packed and my spirits high, I set out to meet my friends, Mike, Sarah, and Emily, at our designated meeting spot. The drive to Aspen was filled with anticipation and laughter. We shared stories, sang along to classic road trip songs, and discussed the thrilling ski routes we planned to conquer. The scenic drive through the winding roads, with views of towering mountains and lush forests, added to our excitement. Upon our arrival in Aspen, we were greeted by the stunning sight of snow-capped peaks against a clear blue sky. The air was crisp and fresh, a welcome change from the city's hustle and bustle. We checked into our cozy mountain lodge, a charming wooden structure with a warm, inviting ambiance. The lodge owner, Mr. Thompson, greeted us with a friendly smile and showed us to our rooms. After settling in, we decided to explore the quaint town. The streets of Aspen were bustling with fellow skiers and snowboarders, all sharing the same enthusiasm for the mountains. We stopped at a local cafe, where the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods filled the air. Over cups of steaming hot chocolate, we discussed our plan for the next day. The excitement was palpable as we talked about the slopes we wanted to tackle and the breathtaking views we hoped to see. As the evening set in, we returned to our lodge, where a warm fire awaited us in the common room. We gathered around, sharing stories and making plans for the days ahead. The camaraderie and anticipation of the adventure that lay before us made the moment special. As I retired to my room that night, I gazed out of the window at the starlit sky and the silhouette of the mountains. I felt a sense of peace and exhilaration for what the next day would bring. Little did I know, the adventure that awaited us would be more thrilling and challenging than any of us could have imagined. The morning greeted us with a pristine white landscape, as fresh snow had fallen overnight, transforming the mountains into a skier's paradise. After a hearty breakfast at the lodge, we geared up for our first day on the slopes. The excitement was tangible as we put on our skis and goggles, ready to embrace the mountain's challenges. Our first destination was the famed Black Diamond Trail, known for its steep inclines and challenging terrain. As a group of experienced skiers, we felt an adrenaline rush at the thought of conquering it. The crisp mountain air filled our lungs as we ascended the ski lift, with the panoramic view of the snow-covered peaks taking our breath away. At the top, we took a moment to appreciate the beauty surrounding us. The vast expanse of white, punctuated by the dark green of the pine trees and the distant peaks, was a sight to behold. Then, with a nod to each other, we pushed off. The sensation of gliding down the slope was exhilarating. The snow under my skis felt perfect, and I carved my way down the mountain, feeling a sense of freedom and joy. We each found our rhythm, occasionally crossing paths, laughing and cheering each other on. Midway down the slope, Sarah, the most adventurous of us, suggested we take a detour through a less-traveled path she had noticed. Always up for an adventure, we followed her lead, veering off into a narrow trail that snaked through the trees. This part of the mountain was serene, undisturbed by the sounds of the busy slopes. The trail challenged us with its sharp turns and unexpected dips, but it was thrilling. We were in our element, navigating through the natural obstacles. As we emerged from the trail, we found ourselves on a secluded part of the mountain with a breathtaking view. We stopped to take it all in, the silence only broken by the sound of our heavy breathing and the distant calls of birds. It was moments like this that made the trip unforgettable. We spent the rest of the day exploring different trails, each offering its unique challenges and rewards. By late afternoon, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, we decided to head back to the lodge. Our bodies were tired, but our spirits were high. That evening, as we sat by the fire, nursing our sore muscles and sharing stories of the day's adventures, I realized how much these experiences meant to all of us. It wasn't just about skiing or the thrill of the slopes. It was about the bonds we were strengthening and the memories we were creating against the backdrop of the majestic mountains. As we retired for the night, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the day and anticipation for what the next would bring. Little did we know. The following day would present an unexpected turn of events that would test our friendship and resilience in ways we never imagined. The next morning dawned clear and bright, promising another perfect day on the slopes. We woke up early, eager to make the most of our time in the mountains. After breakfast, we headed out, our spirits high and our energy renewed. Our plan for the day was to tackle some of the more challenging slopes, pushing our limits and honing our skills. As we reached the ski lift, we encountered a group of local skiers who mentioned a hidden gem of a trail, not well known to tourists. Intrigued by the prospect of an off-the-beaten-path adventure, we decided to give it a try. The trail was located on a more remote part of the mountain, accessible only by a long ski lift ride followed by a short hike. The journey there was quiet and introspective, with each of us lost in the beauty of the snow-covered landscape and the thrill of discovery. As we reached the trailhead, we were greeted by a narrow, winding path that descended sharply into a densely wooded area. The trail was more challenging than anything we had encountered before, with natural jumps, tight turns, and a steep gradient. We proceeded with caution, but with an increasing sense of exhilaration. Halfway down, disaster struck. Mike, who was leading the way, hit an unseen patch of ice and took a hard fall. We quickly skied down to him, finding him in pain, unable to put weight on his left leg. We knew immediately that we needed to get him off the mountain and to a hospital. The situation tested our resolve and teamwork. We created a makeshift sled using our skis and jackets and carefully transported Mike back up the trail. The ascent was slow and arduous, requiring all our strength and patience. We took turns pulling the sled, encouraging each other despite our own fatigue and worry for Mike. After what seemed like hours, we finally reached the ski lift, where the operators quickly called for medical assistance. As we waited for the rescue team, we huddled around Mike, trying to keep him warm and conscious. The camaraderie and care we showed each other in those moments deepened our bond. The rescue team arrived promptly, and Mike was airlifted to the nearest hospital. We followed on foot, silent and reflective. The accident had put everything into perspective. The thrill of adventure came with inherent risks, and the mountains demanded respect. At the hospital, we were relieved to find out that Mike had a broken leg, but would make a full recovery. As we sat in the waiting room, supporting each other, I realized how much this trip had brought us together. We had started as a group of friends seeking adventure, but we were leaving as a tightly knit team who had faced adversity and come out stronger. That night, back at the lodge, we gathered around the fire, not with stories of thrilling descents or breathtaking views, but with a new appreciation for each other and the experiences we shared. We knew that this trip would be remembered not just for the skiing, but for the lessons we learned about friendship, courage, and the unpredictable nature of life. With Mike safely recovering and insisting that we continue to enjoy our trip, we decided to participate in a traditional mountain activity that evening: a torchlit sleigh ride. It was a way to experience the mountains in a new light, quite literally, and lift our spirits after the day's events. As dusk fell, we gathered at the base of the mountain, where a group of horse-drawn sleighs awaited, adorned with twinkling lights and warm blankets. The air was crisp and cold, but excitement warmed us. Our sleigh driver, a jovial man named Hans, welcomed us with a hearty laugh and stories of his years living in the mountains. As we set off, the sleigh bells jingled rhythmically, and the horses' breaths created puffs of white in the chilly air. The trail wound through the forest, the snow-draped trees forming a magical corridor. Hans regaled us with local legends and pointed out constellations in the clear night sky. The highlight of the evening was the torchlit descent. We each were given a handheld torch, its flame flickering against the dark sky. As we descended a gentle slope, our torches created a mesmerizing trail of light, illuminating the snow in a warm, golden glow. The sight was enchanting, like something out of a fairy tale. We stopped halfway down at a clearing where a small bonfire had been set up. Around the fire, we enjoyed hot cider and traditional mountain snacks, warming our hands and hearts. The atmosphere was festive, with laughter and conversations echoing through the trees. It was during this time that we met a group of local skiers who shared stories of their own adventures in the mountains. Their tales of daring descents and hidden trails added to the mystique of the mountain, It was a reminder of how nature brings people together, creating bonds and memories that last a lifetime. As we continued our descent, the glow of our torches against the night sky was a sight to behold. It felt like we were part of something ancient and timeless, a tradition passed down through generations of mountain dwellers. The sleigh ride ended back at the lodge, where we bid farewell to Hans and his horses. We returned to our rooms, our minds full of the day's experiences. Despite the challenges we faced, or perhaps because of them, the trip had become an unforgettable adventure. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the past few days. The mountains had taught us about the beauty and peril of nature, the importance of friendship and teamwork, and the joy of new experiences. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the adventure, the lessons learned, and the memories made. The next morning, we packed our bags with a mix of sadness and satisfaction. Our trip had been an unforgettable journey of adventure and camaraderie, but it was time to return home. After bidding farewell to Mr. Thompson and the cozy lodge that had been our home away from home, we loaded our car and set off. The sky was overcast, hinting at the possibility of snow, but we were hopeful it would hold off until we were well on our way. However, as we wound our way down the mountain roads, the first flakes began to fall, gentle at first, then quickly intensifying into a heavy snowfall. Within an hour, the landscape around us had transformed. The road was blanketed in a thick layer of snow, making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. We slowed to a crawl, the windshield wipers working furiously to clear the snow. As we rounded a bend, we came to a sudden stop. Ahead of us, the road was completely blocked by a fallen tree, its branches heavy with snow. We realized with a sinking feeling that we were stranded, with no way to move forward, and the snow showing no signs of stopping. We quickly assessed our situation. We had food, water, and warm clothing. But with the temperature dropping and the snow piling up, we knew we couldn't stay in the car indefinitely. Our thoughts turned to the cozy lodge we had just left. It was only a few miles back, but in this weather, it might as well have been 100. Gathering our courage and resources, we decided to make our way back to the lodge on foot. It was a risky decision, but we knew it was our best chance for safety. Bundling up in our warmest gear, we set out into the snowstorm, keeping close together and moving slowly but steadily. The journey was grueling. The snow was deep, making each step a struggle, and the wind howled around us, chilling us to the bone. But we pressed on, driven by the thought of the warm fire and shelter awaiting us. After what felt like hours, we finally saw the lights of the lodge, a beacon of hope in the storm. Mr. Thompson greeted us with shock and relief, quickly ushering us inside and tending to our needs with warm blankets and hot drinks. That night, as we sat around the fire, sharing our story with the few other guests stranded at the lodge, we felt a sense of gratitude and camaraderie. The storm had brought us back to this place of refuge, and in doing so, had strengthened the bond between us. The next few days were spent waiting out the storm, sharing stories with our fellow stranded travelers, and enjoying the unexpected extension of our adventure. When the snow finally cleared and the roads were opened, we knew we were leaving with more than just memories of skiing and sleigh rides. We were leaving with a story of survival, friendship, and the unpredictable beauty of nature. As we drove away from the lodge for the second time, the mountains behind us now calm and serene in their snowy blanket, we felt a mix of joy and nostalgia. We had come seeking adventure, and we had found it, not just on the slopes, but in the unexpected twists and turns of life. And so, our journey came to an end, not with a smooth ride home, but with a reminder that sometimes the best adventures are the ones you never see coming.